Behold, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. This is the Imperfect Ashlers Masonic Podcast. All the views and opinions stated on this show are strictly those of the host and their guests and do not reflect the opinions of any Masonic Lodge or Grand Lodge. What's up, guys? We are the Imperfect Ashlers. I'm Brother Zach. Beside me, I've got Brother Ben. We are here for episode number 2. Unfortunately, we do have some grave news that we have to bring to you from the state of Alabama. We have lost two very important brethren this week. Most worshipful past Grand Master of the state of Alabama, Charter Lee Nicholson Sr., who was the Grand Master from 1982 to 1983, has passed away. And a brother from our local lodge, Brother Charles McAlpin. He taught me a lot about Masonry. But he was a faithful member of Ben M. Jacobs, number 643 out of Pell City for a long time. But they will be gravely missed, and we do ask that you pray for their families as well. Next, on a little brighter note, we do have our availability right now. We are available on Spotify, Apple and Google Podcast, Amazon Music, Audible, Overcast, and we are putting some episodes on YouTube as well, even though it's not in video form. We hope to be doing video podcasts before too long, but as of right now, it's just kind of a picture and you can hear our voices right now. So check us out on all of those platforms. So to start out, we're going to kind of touch back on some things we didn't say a whole lot about in the first episode. And the first one is the real treasure. Like I said, there's no gold, anything like that, but there are some things, and I think you can agree that we would consider, in a way, a treasure.
Brother Zach, one of the things that I consider a treasure, and I'm sure you'll agree with this, was when I was presented with my lambskin apron. And that's something I've got it in the sleeve still. I keep it in my
Yeah,
bookcase, and it's dear to me. And that's
yeah,
that's real treasure. That's something I can lay my hand on, as well as the monitor
yeah,
that I
yeah,
received when I became a master mason.
yeah. Well, you
A-
got it after the examination, correct? Yeah,
after examination, and the presentation of the Bible, the
right.
Masonic
Yeah,
Bible, that was something that I just, I hold these three objects very dear to my heart. And also the man that taught me my lessons, he gave me this little cheap Masonic ring.
hmm.
And he told me when he gave it to me, he said, thing probably didn't cost $10, but it's all I could afford at the time. But I hold that thing dear to my heart and always will. But if I had to say the real treasure that we have in masonry would be the contact, the fellowship that we
Yes,
have with these older gentlemen, these men that have
the
they
knowledge.
laid down the foundations for us, and we're following in their footsteps. And I hold all that knowledge, all that wisdom that they impart to us dear to my heart, and
Oh yeah,
that is treasure, not physical treasure necessarily,
yeah,
but those other things. There are things that I can lay my hands on, and I do consider those treasures, not gold, but
right.
just as good.
Oh yeah, it's just as good as gold. I can agree with that. And I mean, you say gold. Even King Solomon said that knowledge is better than gold. So
Absolutely.
I mean, there's a little Masonic reference
Always
for you, but
knowledge.
yeah, and I can agree. I think a lot of the friendships, the brotherhood, I will quote unquote treasure that for the rest of my life. Like the brother that has passed away, Brother McAlpine. I treasure a lot of the wisdom that he imparted to me, and he really helped me a lot, especially between the time as an entered apprentice and becoming a master mason. He helped me a lot with learning work, with understanding work, a lot of the kind of esoteric values of what we're doing in the lodge and everything. So I would agree 100% with that. And same with the apron, and I've got my monitor as well too. In the state of Alabama, for those that may be listening out of state or even out of our lodge, the Master Mason examination, some call it I
Examination.
believe the catechism. It's not required for the state of Alabama. It is completely optional. Now, it is highly suggested, but if you do it within a certain amount of time, you do get presented with the monitor that has the written work in it. And it of course has all your dates and the date that you were found proficient in your Master Mason examination. So that is something that I will treasure more so for me because of it. It shows what I did for myself. I learned
Absolutely,
that
yes.
something that's not required by the state. So another thing that we kind of left off with last episode was the decline in masonry, the decline in interest, decline in people attending, people actually coming to lodge. And I know we touched on it a little bit with the maybe the age, things like that, of people that are in and maybe for a medical reason or something like that have to stay home or whatever. But let's talk about that. So what do you think, especially with the youth now, why don't you think we're seeing young men that want to come into the lodge?
I think we're running into the same problem like we were talking earlier, the decline that we see in churches,
Yeah.
and we see that in masonry as well. And I think that
Do you think
I
it's a
think maybe,
morality thing or
I think maybe, if you look at what we're actually putting out there as far as having better morals, and I'm not saying that all young kids have terrible morals. There are
mm,
some really good youth out there, but it seems like across the board we're seeing a decline in morality in America as a whole.
yeah,
And hopefully, there at some point we'll see you know young people step back in and get involved in masonry. I don't know. It's sometimes it's kind of disheartening,
yeah,
when we come to lodge and we initiate a young man and to becoming a mason, and he comes for one or two meetings, and
never see him again.
you never see them again. They don't want to hear all this business part of it, and
Right.
unfortunately, that is part of masonry.
Mm,
Is we have to take care of the business end of it,
yeah,
and I think we've got to make masonry fresh, and we got to figure out how to do that. And for me, that's more work in the lodge.
right.
And that's one thing that like this past year we did. That's one of the things that really attracted me to our lodge here in Pell City is that we on any given Thursday night we would go into after we got through the business and everything else, we'd go straight into work. And I think that for me looking in, if I was a young man and I had just been initiated as an entered apprentice,
Right.
I want to learn that lesson,
Yeah.
more than just being able to repeat it at the altar here, but I want that thing ingrained in my memory,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
And I think that we have to do more work in the lodge. Um,
In your by work, you're talking the ritual stuff like that. I
Absolutely.
got you.
The rituals,
I
going through
just
the
want to,
lessons.
yeah. I just want to clarify
Yeah,
that we're
yeah,
not
yeah.
sitting here like
We're,
building
we're not bashing
carpentry or
business and all this
something.
stuff. No, no, no. And hey, sometimes that's got to be done too,
Right.
cleaning the
Yeah.
floors. Everybody here should be a janitor.
Right.
And
Yep.
that's just the way I
Good
feel.
steward.
Everybody should be a good steward
Yep.
of the lodge. And, we have to keep the floor swept.
Yep.
Have to
You,
have
you're
to keep the
right.
tables wiped down.
And that's one thing I've always said. Take pride in your lodge. I there's been several times that it feels like you're the only one doing anything, and you do
Right.
look around and other people start helping and stuff like that. But you go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
Well,
interrupt
no,
you.
no, no. You interrupt. That's perfectly fine. And sometimes it takes that person with the initiative to
Right.
get other people involved because, a lot of times we do become complacent in lodge.
Yeah.
And it's easy to just come in here and sit down and go through our stations and everything
Yeah.
and be ready
Open
to
and
go and
close.
get home. But, usually there's three, four, five of us guys standing around in the parking lot
Yeah.
afterwards, still chewing on the fat.
The
Still,
meeting after the meeting.
yeah, the meeting after the meeting. So it's something that we definitely need to be doing more work on the individual
Right.
degrees for the newcomers.
Right.
And we also need to be, I think that we're not as visible
I can agree with that
in our
100%.
communities as Masons used to be. And I think that that visibility and being out there and having our symbol out there,
Yeah,
I know you as well as I. We have these Masonic tags and we have
I've
symbols
got it
on our
tattooed
cars,
on my arm
and
right here.
you got it marked on your arm, and we need people seeing those things,
Right.
and not thinking, "Ooh, it's some mysterious
Yeah.
thing," but it needs to be that, what is that?
Right.
You
And
know,
and you say that about being in the community. That's one thing that I know is our lodge. We haven't done as much as some other lodges. I know like your home lodge, your original lodge, you do a sponsorship of a fishing team at a bass tournament, right?
absolutely.
So stuff like that I think would help get that out there a little bit.
And when we do these things, we have a bass team that we sponsor from Central Alabama Community College,
Hmm.
and we sponsor them on their college circuit and their tournaments there. And those kids, they see our symbols, they see it on the sign and everything, and it strikes some interest. We've had guys ask, and we've had their parents ask, or fathers ask, into it more,
Right.
but we have to be visible out in the community. I don't know what that looks like, fundraisers,
Right.
if it's
And
selling barbecues or
yeah,
whatever,
and like we said before, this is kind of the reason that I wanted to start a podcast, and I get on TikTok and all these other things, and I try to interact with brethren from other states, and just through social media and everything. I know a lot of the youth are really on social media big time, so
yeah, they are.
I
They
mean
are. And
that
we've
might
got
be a plus too, and that kind of led us into the next question of how are we going to combat it, and that's a very good starting area for that, but. Um, what are some other things you think we may could do? I know you said something about getting out in the community, maybe some philanthropy type stuff, some charity. I know with our lodge, the Christmas parade goes right in front of the lodge, and we'll stand outside and hand out hot chocolate and coffee and stuff, and stuff like that. But I feel at the same time that we're aiming that more toward the older generation. It's not the young people aren't seeing that as interesting. So what do you think we might could do in that same aspect? Maybe community events and stuff like that.
one of the things that our brothers in line will do is they have a car show, and this car show is about one of the largest in Alabama,
And that's the
and
one the Shriners help with too,
and
isn't
all the proceeds go to the Shriners
it? Okay.
Hospital. And these are children that are in dire straits, and they need help.
Hmm.
And being out there and the public seeing that, one of the guys that helped with that car show for years, we just raised him as a master mason down in Lineville the other night. So
So he was
just
helping out long before
he
he
was
got
helping
into
with that car
masonry.
show for years, got interested, and became a mason. So we have to be out there. We've got to be able to be seen and to reach kids.
I think the
eh,
biggest thing is just being out in, like you said, in the community, and noticeably.
One of the things, and I've worked in Mountain Brook for about 26 years,
Mm,
and you just don't see kids outside like you used to. If they're on a ball team or something like
right.
that, but when we grew up, we were all out and about,
It's all about screen time
and
now.
it's now, and I think you touched on it earlier, the social media thing.
Right. And I think that's going to be our masonry in general. That's going to be our biggest advocate right now is social media, the airwaves, whatever you want to call it.
The
That's
airwaves,
yeah,
yeah,
talking old time radio
Radio
now.
Land, all you people out there in Radio Land, we're glad to have you on board.
Yeah, but I agree. I think that's going to be our biggest. The TikToks, the YouTube, I think Facebook's even outdated a little bit now.
Yes, yeah, these kids,
All these new
once the
things.
adults get into it,
Right.
the kids are
It's
out.
not cool
It's
anymore.
not cool anymore. And that may be a little bit of what we're seeing here in lodges.
And that very well could be. It may go to a virtual lodge. I know there's a
Oh,
on TikTok they have a hashtag that is TikTok Lodge #1. So who
oh Lord.
knows? It may just end up being virtual.
Oh,
We'll,
no, 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 no.
we'll meet in Zoom meetings or Zoom calls.
No, surely not. Surely not. Let's hope not. Let's hope that's not the future of masonry. But hey, if it is, we have to be able to make that transition.
Right.
I'm not on social media,
Yeah.
so if that's the future, I don't know. I guess I'm going to have to open a Facebook account or something like that. As much as I hate to.
And I know some old heads that would definitely demit as soon as they heard we were going to have to start doing that.
Yes.
Well, that's going to lead us into the next question, and I really don't know which direction we're going to go with this, but um, outside sources, do you think they're going to help? Do you think they're going to hinder? What kind of sources do you think? I mean, like we talked about social media, that could be an outside source, and I could see it going both ways. I know on social media now, a lot of times I see good out of it. I see, you know, people that are interacting and they're asking questions and all this kind of stuff. And then the next thing you see is somebody talking about how we're worshiping Satan or something or
Thank you. Thank you, Hollywood.
yes,
Thanks,
exactly.
Hollywood.
And that was another example I had was Hollywood. I mean, like I said in the last episode, I joined Masonry because of Hollywood, because of those movies that portray the Freemasons, the Knights Templar, and all that. And
Did you ever watch the librarian that I told you to
have not, no,
about I think it was the search for King Solomon's tomb, and it touched on a lot of masonry stuff, and but it was really good stuff. I mean,
I'll have to check that
it
out.
showed it more in a favorable light. It didn't show it in a negative light,
Yeah,
which seems to be the course.
yeah. That's where a lot of that, like I was saying, with social media comes in. I mean, so many people are thinking that we're involved in Satanism or sacrifices or whatever, and that just kind of I think that turns people away.
And nothing could be farther than from the truth,
No,
right?
yeah, I agree, 100%. I mean,
And
uh,
just to be honest, when I came into masonry, there were, I didn't know what was going to happen,
I didn't either.
in any of my initiations. I did not know. I was like, well, we're a fraternity. Are they going to haze me and all this
Right.
stuff? And, of course, there's no hazing. But I was kind of like, oh man, what's going to happen here? But once you get in masonry
You see it. You
and
see the truth,
you
and
see the truth and you see
it's
what's really going on
it's
within
mind blowing, really.
yeah,
It's
within lodges, and you see the character
right,
of men that we're following in their
right,
footsteps, and you say, hey, this is somebody that I aspire to be like,
right. And especially, I came
going
in
all the way back to our forefathers, right?
right. Oh yeah, we're in the minds of some of the greatest people in the world when we step in line. I mean, you talk about George Washington, a lot of those old presidents, inventors. Henry Ford, I believe, was a Mason. I know that one for a fact.
Henry Ford,
um, it's just it.
Buzz Aldrin,
But yes,
astronaut.
did you know that when Neil Armstrong, I believe, went to the moon, they actually under one of the Grand Lodges gave him permission to open lodge on the moon.
No way.
Yes.
That's awesome.
I
I
read
like it.
that somewhere, and that little tidbit, I thought that was kind of cool. Um, so back to the membership and stuff. One of the big things to me, and I know we're talking about the decline in membership, the numbers. Let's talk about quality over quantity. Um, I can say with a faithful heart that I would rather have just enough brethren to open lodge, but for them to be here every meeting and really want to work.
Yes.
I mean, you look at some of these lodges that have numerous people on the sidelines that aren't in officer stations that don't want to work, that just come for the meeting. I personally prefer coming in and doing some type of ritual practice or something. Um,
The business can get a bit boring, right?
yeah, it
And
can.
I can see the turnoff for a young man if I was just initiated as an entered apprentice and I came to lodge and that's all they're doing. They're buzzing through the minutes and they're reading. We're taking prayer requests and all these things, which is
Right.
a good thing. We need the
Yeah,
prayer and everything. But if it's just that,
yeah,
you know, we think we have to make the lodges more active
right.
when we're here as well.
I agree.
as more active when we're out in public.
Right. I agree.
So, Brother Zach, do you think we've come to a place society wise that we become so individualized that we can no longer draw in these young people to be attracted to a fraternal organization like Masonry?
You know, I
Hence the decline
yeah,
also that we see in churches.
yeah. Uh, I think, and this is just my thought on this. COVID may have had a lot to do with that. Starting, I mean, it
And we,
may have furthered it or
and
whatever.
if you think about it, we had inflated numbers
Right.
in Masonry due to the baby boomers,
Right.
and the lodges were just packed to the gills. And a lot of those guys have started to die off, and some of them are too elderly to come to lodge now. And then we took a boom, another hit with COVID.
Mm.
You know, the lodges were once again empty. But
I agree with that, kids nowadays, I grew up in that generation of you respected your grandparents. You spent a lot of time with your
always,
grandparents, and stuff like that was passed down through a lot of that. So it may be to an extent, yes, but at the same time, probably could be some of that just disinterest from not knowing about it.
there seems to also be in society as well, and I hate to get too political here, but you see a deterioration of the family unit
Right? Yes.
as a whole.
Yeah.
If you just
Uh,
seeing families, when I grew up, you know, we had my grandmother, she was the matriarch of
right.
our family, and our whole family came together for every Sunday,
Hmm.
every holiday.
Yeah.
It didn't matter. We were at my grandmother's house, my mama's house, and
Yeah.
we were there,
You don't see a lot of that anymore.
and you don't
We,
have that. You just have
my family was the
a
same way.
degradation of family values,
Yeah.
of morality all across America.
Right.
And I'm not saying that we won't be able to continue to attract kids to masonry because we're preaching morality.
Right.
I'm not saying that. I'm, or that we're not preaching. Let me get off that. That that's one of the things that we stand on
Yeah.
is morality.
Yeah.
And who's to say that, you know, in another 10 years,
See a big
we
revival.
might see a big revival. And
I know locally, church wise, we're seeing in younger and high school kids and stuff like that, locally at least, a big revival in church attendance, in
there was one at Sanford a
bab
while back.
yeah,
Sanford,
in
yes.
baptisms, all that kind of stuff. So the morality, I believe, is still there. I believe kids that are coming up maybe have that drive to want something more, to especially like talking about church, have something where that gives you hope, that connects you with something bigger than just yourself. Um, whether masonry is going to fall into that, I don't know. Because like we've said before, when I came into this lodge, uh, I was the youngest member. I believe I came in '09, so I would have been 22 years old, 21,
A
22 years
baby.
old. Yeah. And the closest member to me in age was in his late 50s. So,
But you loved the fellowship with him, right?
oh, I sure did. And by golly, we love to eat. Um, and I do think that maybe with this revival of church revival in young people, maybe they'll see something Masonic and they'll get that interest in it like we did. And I will say, nowadays kids have a lot more that they can look at online than we did when we first started. Um, I know, like I said, Da Vinci Code, National Treasure, all that. I couldn't get online and just Google the Freemasons. It was Google was still a new thing, so I didn't have a whole lot online that I could look at. To
Do, do you think that maybe because there is so much information out there, perhaps these kids feel like they don't necessarily need the knowledge or the wisdom that's being passed down through masonry?
that very well could be. Very well could be. You can.
Because it's hard to tell a kid anything these days,
Yeah,
right?
man, you can get online and find out just about anything. I mean, from Freemasonry to physics. I
Right.
mean, but
Freemasonry to physics. I
that
like
might be
that.
a good
That's
book.
good.
But yeah, I mean, with everything online and it's so much that's on TV nowadays, it's almost like there's no mystery to it anymore. You know, when you're
Right,
initiated, you're coming into the
right.
mysteries of Freemasonry.
Yes,
So there's a good possibility that maybe they just don't have an interest in it because they think they know everything about it.
and they don't.
Yeah. And there are a lot of folks out there that I believe have that, what would you call it, Gnosticism, where they believe they know it all just because they YouTubed it or something.
That seems to be the course.
Well, that's going to be all for today. Brother Ben, you got any final thoughts? Anything you just want to say that's on your heart?
I don't think that masonry is dead.
By no means.
By no means. I still I still see in the future a revival of masonry, and I see an influx of young men. I don't know what that's going to look like,
Right.
or I don't know what it will take society wise to bring those young men in, but I feel like that's going to happen.
I would
If
love to
there's
see it.
if there is a young man listening to us today, we would by all means encourage you to check it out,
Yeah.
just like we did. You
Yeah.
know that you can read online all you want to. You can Google it and all that stuff, but until you come in here and actually go through what we have to become Masons, you're just not going to know.
Right.
And it's a wonderful thing. We love it. I know you do,
Oh, yeah.
and I see it. I see it in the way that you carry yourself around lodge and the way you love this lodge, and I know you love masonry as well as I do.
My top three things in life are God, family, lodge.
God, family,
That's,
lodge.
yep.
That needs to be a T-shirt.
I might have to do that. That's not
There's
a
a
bad idea.
T-shirt.
We might start selling those t-shirts actually.
Absolutely, that's great. I like it. God,
God,
family,
family, lodge,
lodge.
imperfect ashlers.
I like it.
Well, we appreciate y'all listening for sure. And again, we are on several platforms now, including Spotify, Apple and Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Audible, Overcast, and we will have the episodes uploaded to YouTube as well. Check us out on any of them. Like I said, truly appreciate the support and the love that we've been shown through this. Um, and if you'd like to email us any questions, comments, anything like that, we do have an email address set up. It is imperfectashlerspodcast@gmail.com. I've said it before. I'm on TikTok at Masonic Gent. I've got a YouTube under the same name. That's where the videos are going to be uploaded to. But feel free to follow me, talk to us, interact.
They're gonna have to get in touch with you on social media
Yeah,
now.
exactly.
All
um,
all of you people that want to get in touch, y'all get in touch with Brother Zach.
yeah, just shoot me a message. Now, and if you are interested in learning about masonry, uh, I think every state in the U.S. has a Grand Lodge website. So give it a Google. Just see what you can find out. See if you think it might be for you. But until next week, y'all have a good one. Thanks for listening.